Welcome into the Thunder basketball universe. We're back from All-Star break. It's felt like probably 6 months have passed, but it's only been a few days. And Nick, you and I were both in Indianapolis for All-Star weekend, so it's nice to be back here at home in Oklahoma City for a little bit.
Yeah, when the Thunder itself does not have a game for a week, it feels like an absolute eternity.
Yes.
But we certainly were very busy up in Indianapolis, and I'm just looking forward to being able to share kind of the stories and what we got to experience up there for sure.
We have a lot to catch up on because this All-Star weekend, well, the Thunder had 5 guys representing Oklahoma City in Indianapolis. So we'll get into all of that. Plus, stick around because we also today, we just got back from practice and we heard from a very new face on this Thunder roster, Gordon Hayward, for the very first time today. So stick around. We'll hear from him a little bit later in the podcast and we'll get you all set up for everything you need to know post All-Star break for this Thunder team.
But
Nick,
first, don't we need to hear
about
some of your celebrity run-ins. We're not going to tell the Bill Murray story. We're not going to tell the Lil Wayne story. But let's hear.
All right. So
I haven't even heard this story yet.
This is brand new information for you. Okay, before we get into Made You Look, here's what made me look this weekend. All right. So as you know, All-Star weekend, very chaotic. There's just people everywhere, especially on the event level of an arena. Just you've got security, dancers, entertainers, athletes, like everyone is just running around in the back of a house of an NBA arena.
And these spaces are completely transformed from what they would normally be like at an NBA game. I mean, the areas that are usually like storage have some massive setup that's a press conference. And,
exactly.
You know, the courtside club is not the courtside club anymore. It's all sorts of other stuff.
And so it can be really hard to navigate. And especially when you're, helping your camera guy carry a lot of equipment and Pelican cases and things like that. And so we get in on the event level. That's the entrance, the media entrance. And we have to go up to the 5th floor to our media seat. So we're looking for an elevator. We find one, finally. Get to the elevator. And we notice that there are 2 very large men in suits standing in front of the elevator. And we think, okay, we'll just keep going. Yeah. See if what happens. The 2 men just kind of like collide in front of me, just like
they were elevator doors shutting in front of the elevator doors.
Of the elevator, none shall pass sort of vibes. And so we're like, okay, I guess we can't use this elevator. And so we take all of our stuff and we're like, all right, I guess we'll have to walk around to try to find another elevator. As soon as we turn around, there is none other than the 7'1" looming presence of Shaquille O'Neal, Shaq Diesel.
He's been following us around because he was in Orlando to get his jersey retired by the Magic.
And as soon as I make eye contact with Shaq, he just points and laughs. Ha ha, because the people were guarding the elevator for him to get on the elevator.
So he was teasing you that you weren't allowed to get on the elevator.
Yeah, nice. I was not cool enough to get on the elevator with Shaq Diesel. But one day, hopefully.
You were cool enough for him to laugh at you, which is, a better response than most people might get.
This is true. But that's what you get at All-Star Weekend. You never know who's around the corner, whether it's Lil Wayne, Bill Murray with a Benny the Bull hat on. You just really never know. Those are true stories that actually happen.
It's a true NBA convention. And of course, the NBA draws the attention of everyone in this country and across the world. And so you're going to have people trickle in no matter where it is. And so that's so cool that you got those little run-ins. Yeah.
And humbling. Yeah. Take your pick. Yeah. Okay. That was the Made You Look before the actual Made You Look. Because there were so many cool elements to this All-Star weekend for all 5 of our Thunder guys. So Nick, I'll let you go first. What was your favorite moment that made you look this All-Star weekend?
Well, so much of what happens at All-Star weekend is not what happens on the court. Yeah. And Paris, you and I know we had an amazing crew of our content people on the ground. We had 8 people there chasing around our 5 players between Shai and JDub and Chet and Cason, Wallace and Keyontae Johnson. Those guys were running around Indianapolis all weekend. On Saturday, it was just wild. So many events as these guys were, doing promotional appearances to signing autographs for kids in the Make-A-Wish program. I mean, so many cool things. But you just never know who else is going to be a part of some of this stuff and what exactly they're going to be doing until you actually arrive and get there. And so on Friday, we showed up at this old theater in Indianapolis. Really cool space, historic theater. And there are these 2 podiums on the stage of the theater. and one is for JDub and Chet, and one is for Jaime Jaquez Jr. and Bam Adebayo. And it was like this NBA game show that they were about to do. And the show was through American Express, and it was basically the two teams had to try to guess Family Feud style the answers to some questions, but in the minds of a fan. And so they were having to try to like put themselves in the minds of the fan and get the answers right. And I just thought it was a great encapsulation of like All-Star Weekend that, you know, what you're going to see is you have no idea until the minute you get there. And the guys getting to like participate together was really cool. And they also really displayed their personalities. JDub, of course, kind of a ham, like, you know, just great energy, you know, in the mix, his like sarcasm bopping in and out. And then Chet, of course, absolutely relentless stickler for the rules.
Of course.
He was like very worried about like, okay, wait a second. They get a chance to rebut if we miss the question, but like, what about this type of question? And he was like really like very focused on the fine details of the game. Good. And I just think I couldn't help but think about Mark Daigneault saying like, when you coach Chet Holmgren, it is a constant conversation.
Never stops talking, yes.
And our guy, Christian Crosby, who works for the 76ers and hosts a lot of events for the NBA, he was the host of this. And of course, you know, there was just a great, like, Chet was like this great straight man for Christian trying to be like this bubbly present. And Chet was like, wait a second, hold on. You got that wrong. You got that wrong. So
it's our turn, actually. That's actually our point.
Yeah, it was classic.
I saw a couple of clips from this event, and I love that it ended in rock, paper, scissors. Yeah. Like all of that, you know, like thinking and strategy and all of that. And it just goes out the window. And it's just like rock, paper, scissors between, was it Bam and JDub that had to do rock, paper, scissors? And I'm like, that's awesome. Yeah. That's just like, you know, goes to show just how like fun all of these events really are.
Yeah, very silly. All of them are, you know, really geared towards the fan. And you think about the way that like Shai just kind of seamlessly like weaves in and out of some of these events, Converse and Canada Goose and some of these other things. It's like really cool to just see these guys in their element, their personality shining, and I mean the lines of fans that you see at All-Star Weekend to just try to get a glimpse of some of these players. It's really humbling to witness that and then recognize that like we get to sit courtside and do this every night.
Yeah, I mean, and it's just incredible. It's super cool, and you just really start to appreciate this job, you know, and like, you know, these guys and the impact that they have universally and just like all over the country. And it's really, really cool to see in person. All right. You had a cool off the court made you look. Mine is an on the court made you look.
I should have known. You're all about the hoops, Paris.
All about basketball. What can I say? I'm a hooper at heart, and there's nothing better than an all-star game with 400 points on the board. It's just nothing better. And so my favorite 2 points of the game came from our guy, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Two out of 186 for the Western Conference All-Stars. And this is the one, these are the two that really stood out to Paris.
These are the best ones. These are my favorite. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander gets the ball, gets outlet the ball. Jaylen Brown, touch and go defense, you know, as was the entire All-Star game, to be fair.
Shai got a step on Jaylen Brown, let's just say.
Shai had a step on Jaylen Brown. Yeah. All right, so Shai's going left. He gets to the middle, and you know when Shai gets to the paint, it's just a toss-up. What's he going to do? Is it a layup? Is it a dunk? Is he going to kick it out? Nobody knows. Yeah. Exactly. Well, no one saw this coming.
No.
He uses his left hand, throws the ball off the backboard, catches it with his right hand, and dunks it.
Yeah.
And immediately, after my gasp of shock and appreciation, I'm like, Chet. Did Chet teach him this? Because Chet did this in a game with the Thunder.
Yeah.
And so post-game, we asked Shai about this. He was asked, you know, did Chet inspire that off-the-glass alley-oop to yourself? He was like, actually, yes. Like, ever since Chet did it, now everyone's trying to do it. But I think mine was a little more difficult because I had a defender on my hip. And I just want to put defender in parentheses.
Is really kind of loose here.
I'm like, he wasn't really trying to block your shot. But I will give him credit because, yes, there was someone in his vicinity causing some disruption.
Slight disturbance in the force. Yeah.
Yeah. But I just loved it because no one expected Shai to do that.
No, definitely not. And just like nobody expected Chet to do it a couple months ago against the Clippers here at Paycom Center. It does really kind of wound me a little bit, though, that like these guys are so young that they forget that Tracy McGrady did this in a game.
Yeah. You're so right.
So Chet, while you have sort of like brought that into this new era of the game, let's not forget the forefathers that came before us in the NBA.
Yes, respect the team. Respect. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was Tracy McGrady. I think that there's been some guys that have thrown it
definitely
off the back before. But
go to any pickup game in just in New York or anywhere, and you'll probably see a couple of those as well.
But it's cool. I mean, I think that was a great display of like, hey, all these guys are there together.
Yeah.
And if they're not physically together, they're there sort of emotionally together too.
They're all tied
they're all
together.
Connected. They're all connected. Yeah.
That was my made you look. I loved it so much. I think that was worth talking about.
Yeah, definitely. 2 of Shai's 31 points. And I just got to say, I mean, I know that there were 186 points scored by the Western Conference All-Stars. None of the guys played more than 30 minutes. But if you plucked Shai's stat line from the All-Star game and you dropped it into the other 53
it would
that
fit
he had,
right in.
Right. 31 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, 12 of 16 shooting.
Just efficient.
Like, right.
He can't not be efficient.
It's the exact. I mean, now probably fewer steals and blocks than in a regular
potential
game.
Yes.
But but still,
we're not. This is the All-Star game.
Pretty amazing that Shai just shows up and rocks for like 31, 4, and 6. That's just what he does.
Totally in character.
Yeah.
Just like the rest of the Thunder contingent in Indianapolis, completely in character. All right, let's give you a little bit of a rundown of what happened during All-Star weekend. So the reason me and Nick both went to All-Star is because we had to chase 5 guys around Indianapolis, and that's a lot to do with just one person. So we were split up all over the place, following Keyontae Johnson, the Thunder's 2-way player who was in the G League Up Next game, following Cason Wallace, Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren during the Rising Stars events, and of course Shai Gilgeous-Alexander during his All-Star stuff.
All-Star starter stuff.
Starter stuff. So there was a lot happening. Not to mention, as you mentioned, all of their individual appearances, events, photo shoots, just meet and greets. You name it, they were out there, mingling and making lasting memories for fans
in
for the rest
20-degree snowy weather. By the way, like these guys did not really, they didn't wilt in the sort of like, oh, I think I'm just gonna hang around in the hotel. Like,
no,
they had made commitments. They went out and did them.
I think a good place for us to start is Rising Stars.
Yeah,
just because like that was the majority of the representation for the Thunder. So let's talk about that and the fact that this was a first appearance for Cason Wallace. Love this for Cason.
Yeah.
It made me so happy to see him there. First appearance for Chet Holmgren and the seasoned veteran Jalen Williams with his second Rising Stars appearance.
Yeah, I mean, Cason did exactly what Cason does. Knocked down some threes.
Had a steal.
Had a steal. I told him in the postgame that he may have made a record or had a first in the Rising Stars game by setting a body-to-body screen in the game. He actually set a screen in the Rising Stars game. That was really special stuff. And so like fundamental and classic Cason.
Again, just so in character by Cason. And I love when we got a chance to talk to him post game. He was like, this was, it was incredible that like the work that I've put in this season, is recognized. This is a dream come true. It's definitely something that I've had on my, list of things that I want to accomplish. And you could tell he was just like in the moment. That's Cason. He's just always grounded, rooted, and just in the moment in front of him.
There was one moment though that you pointed out to me where he was able to step back and reflect a little bit, which was the fact that he went and participated as a coach in a junior NBA clinic.
Yeah.
And that was something that he did when he was a kid.
Yeah. So growing up, he was a part of some junior NBA stuff as well. And just like looking at obviously where he was growing up, right outside of Dallas, competing in junior NBA clinics, and now being in a Rising Stars game in All-Star Weekend as a rookie, and then one of your appearances is a junior NBA coaching clinic, and you go out there, and he was so smiling, so happy, like helping the kids out, rebounding for him, helping the coaches. And I asked him after the game, I was like, did you ever think junior NBA Cason would be sitting in that seat that you're in right now? And he was like, no, not a chance. Yeah. But I'm so happy I'm here. I just thought that was so sweet and wholesome.
I think it's always so interesting which guys say, like, like I always believed that this was going to be my life, you know, and some guys just, they truly like just knew something inherently. And then there are guys like Cason that just still marvel at what's happened. And, you know, they obviously were there every step of the way and put the work in to get here, but it still is beyond them to comprehend, like, this is actually my life. You know? And I love that type of gratitude too.
And he's just oozing gratitude. Every time you talk to him, he's just so appreciative for his opportunity, and he's making the most of everything that's been handed to him, and he's worked for everything. It's really cool to see. One sad thing about this Rising Stars game was that Cason was not on the same team as Chet and Jalen, because Chet and Jalen were on team Jalen Rose, and they won.
They won the whole dang thing.
They won the whole dang thing, which is like, okay, understandable. But I was also kind of looking forward to the opportunity for Cason to guard JDub.
That would have
been so fun. I think I would have looked forward to that, but they didn't get a chance to play. Yeah.
So Team Jalen, which, as you mentioned, had JDub and Chet on it, they kind of steamrolled this thing. Yeah. They played real well in the first round, and then they dominated the finals.
Chet had a windmill dunk. Yeah. You had Dub just doing his thing all over it was just like
first game, JDub really, I mean, he was relatively like took a back seat in both games. JDub had 3 assists in the first game, just kind of set guys up. Second game, he only took 3 shots, but he hit the game-winning 3 at the top of the key, and, you know, made sure to send that one home. And it was kind of a great way to encapsulate JDub, you know, being able to just kind of like, he's kind of the man out there. Yeah. He knew that he could like pick and choose his spots. And then when it came time, bang, knocks down the shot from the top of the key.
Just ice in his veins. And it was really fun too. Like you could tell like that was a really, really cool moment for JDub and for Chet too. Yeah. I mean, that's so awesome. And also how fitting that Jalen is on Team Jalen. Yeah. I mean, like that was also just like really cool. But I want to talk about one of the appearances that Chet and JDub had. So you were at their game show American Express appearance. Yeah. I was at their NBA house appearance. Oh, yeah. So this was really cool. It was like the NBA brought in a bunch of influencers from all over the world. And Chet and Jalen had an opportunity to just like, you know, sit and talk to him, maybe do some content with whatever the influencers wanted to do. And it was so interesting seeing, like, there were influencers from China, from Australia, literally France, like all over the world. And like Jalen, you know, did a dance with one of them. Then he taught one of them how to spin the ball like on his hand. And it was just, that sort of event was really cool to see like different worlds colliding. Like people who typically like probably aren't like huge like NBA people or don't necessarily post NBA content. But then like you see just how quickly like these guys can click, you know, with people from all over the world just because, you know, they're awesome athletes and even, you know, just cool people.
I've thought all weekend about our content creators that are on our Thunder staff. And, you know, Paris and I were there. We also had 6 other people, a couple of people from our social media department, some photographers, videographers who, you know, during the course of an NBA season, so much of this is routine based. It's what helps make teams good, is to have this great routine of like, you go to practice, you get your rest after practice, you get your treatment, whatever. You go to shoot around, you take your game day nap, you do your walk-ins into the building, you know, you walk out of the hotel and onto the bus and you go straight to the game. You know, it's all like this, you know, and it's a lot of the same imagery everywhere you go. And being an All-Star Weekend is like a content capturer's dream because they're just doing stuff that you never get to see them do ever. And that's exactly what you're describing.
Yeah. And I mean, like from that to also just like showing up at a Foot Locker or showing up at, you know, just a store in a mall near you, you know, like those are things that just don't typically happen. And so these guys, they had fun with it. They leaned into it, took a million pictures, you know, signed autographs, took time for everybody. That was just really, really cool to see. All right, so those were our Rising Stars. Yes. Am I missing anything from those guys? I mean, they did a lot of stuff. Yeah, they did. But it was really, really cool to see those guys there. Let's talk Keyontae, because this was a cool opportunity for Key, and he's obviously a 2-way player for the Thunder, but he got to participate in the Up Next game for the G League. This was really cool. I got a chance to go to the game, watch Keyontae, and after the game, I noticed in the stands that there were a couple of Thunder jerseys. There were just a few of them up in the stands. And I'm like, okay, Like, that's awesome. That's really cool.
People made the trip all the way out to Indy.
Hey, yeah. That's so cool. They're number 18 jerseys. Okay. Okay, cool. Like, that's really sick. Keyontae's got fans. And then after the game, I go and I ask him, I'm like, hey, did you see, like, there were some Thunder jerseys up? He's like, yeah, that was really cool. Those were my parents.
Yeah.
It was like, yeah, it was just really cool, like, that they got a chance to come to Indianapolis and watch me, like, participate in All-Star Weekend festivities.
Stage. Yeah.
Like, that's really cool for not just him, but them, and being a chance to be with other Thunder players as well. And so I just thought that was another just really cool moment that shows you, similar to Cason, how much these moments mean to the guys too. Like, it's a big spectacle. It's cool. It's fun to watch. But it's also like, it's an honor to be able to participate in these things.
And it gives these guys different touch points than they would ever get. I mean, that stage being at the G League Up Next game is a very different type of stage than what Keyontae has done this year, where he's really kept his head down and he's made the most of the opportunities he's gotten. When he has played with the Thunder, he's made those kind of hustle plays, but he's mostly been in the G League. And part of the reason that he made the the Up Next game is because he's just stayed like focused and locked into the moment. But he also had a chance to do something that I felt like was really poignant. And off the floor, he did an American Heart Association event.
Yes.
Where he learned how to use an AED and learned how to do CPR. And if you know much about Keyontae, you'll probably remember the story that really kind of captivated the nation when he was at the University of Florida and he had that cardiac arrest incident. And, obviously it was extremely scary. He makes this incredible, miraculous recovery from that cardiac arrest. His journey back has been so inspirational. Yeah. And then, kind of his first like national touch point where he gets to go and do something big, and he's in the Up Next game. He takes the time to go do this event with a charity like the American Heart Association and, learn some things that are very, very valuable and maybe be a good example to others so that they can help people who are in need down the line too. Yeah, that's just such a really cool touch point for Keyontae, and just goes to show like, there's a lot happening at All-Star Weekend. It could be kind of chaotic. It can be, whiplash all over the place. But if you look closely, like, there's some really, really heartfelt moments. Yeah. And like, Keyontae got an opportunity to do so much like really intentional stuff like you're talking about. And his team might not have won in the Up Next game, but still, like, he walks away from that, goes back to, comes back to Oklahoma City, and like that like fills your cup a little bit. Yeah. Like, that's something that you carry with you into the rest of the season, gives you confidence, makes you feel really good heading into whatever's left of the season. Definitely gives you a different type of pep in your step as you go to these final 28 games of the regular season, a third of the season left to go. And the possibilities are sort of still unwritten about what the rest of this year will look like. And he's got some energy and juice behind that. All right, let's talk about Shavonte, okay, our all-star starter for the very first time in his career. Super cool. Yeah. So happy for Shai. And, like, when his name is announced as a starter in the Western Conference, the crowd goes crazy. It's just so fun. Before we get to the game, you actually had a chance to spend, like, time with Shai while he was actually, like, doing stuff. He got there, I think, on Friday. Yeah. And just hit the ground running. It's something that I wrote about in my article that's on OKCThunder.com right now. And it's just basically about like how these guys, you use the word perfectly, were in character the whole weekend. And then their focus, though, was still on sort of the values of the game, the bigger picture team goals that this Thunder squad has. But one of the ways that Shai is just always in character to me is he just moves like water through, like, I mean, he's so fluid. He's so fluid. Yeah. He just flows in and out. I mean, it's 8:30 in the morning, and I won't bite too much from the article because I really do want you all to go read it. But, it's 8:30 in the morning, and he flows into a Foot Locker at the mall, all black tracksuit, and he is clearly put together. Yeah. But, if I'm up at 8:30 in the morning in a tracksuit, I do not look like the way Shai looked, as he just kind of like streamed his way in and out of this event, streamed his way into this conversation where he's on stage and getting asked these questions about his fashion and his decision to be with Converse and yada, yada, yada. And he just,
Yeah.
He just boom, boom, boom. He's in and out of that. And he's just going wherever the banks carry him.
Yeah.
And wherever he can find the open space. And he went in and met with some fans afterwards there. And so, that kind of stuff is just so cool to see him, be able to get out there. And then of course he gets into the setting with the actual All-Stars, and he's totally cool and casual there too. He talks about, this is something that he dreamed about as a kid.
Yep.
But when you get here, you think that you're ready for this weekend and ready for the pomp and circumstance of All-Star, and you're just not. I mean, this might be a little inside basketball for people, but at All-Star practice, they bring a few guys to the podium, and then the rest of the players will go kind of to this like mix zone that you're talking about. Shai was the very first player that was brought to the podium. And then it was Steph and Kevin Durant. And like, for context, the guys that get brought to the podium are like the guys that people really want to talk to.
Because they anticipate a large crowd of people want to ask him questions, so they give him more space.
And frankly, the guy that gets to go first gets to leave first too. Yeah. And so like, if you get to go first, it's usually kind of a sign of great respect.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was like, whoa. Like, again, very inside basketball, but Shai being 1A on the press conference list, I was like, all right, it's pretty big for our guy,
And that reminded me of something that happened earlier in the season. You remember when we were in Los Angeles and Shai had just come off like he turned his ankle or something. I think he missed a game, and he was ready. He was available to play in this next game. And a reporter asked Mark during the pregame press conference, he was like, "Hey, I just walked past Shai and he was like visibly limping. Like, is he like, are you sure?" Basically,
do you want to play him? Are you sure? Yeah.
Is he like on a minutes restriction? Like, cause he was like visibly limping. And Mark just goes, "Shai's also just like really cool."
Like, that might just be how he walks.
That's just his swag dripping off of him that you're noticing. So yeah, he's good to play. Yeah. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, only Shai could make an 8 a.m. all black tracksuit look incredibly put together. And he could be completely unbothered by the fact that as soon as he touches down in Indianapolis, cold, snowy, icy Indianapolis, he's ready to rock and roll and poised cool as a cucumber. Only Shai can make an ankle injury look like the coolest way to walk in the history of human beings. Like, that's one cool dude.
And then the next day, he just so happens to be wearing this like pink bucket hat.
Yeah.
And, this crazy colored jacket to this Canada Goose event. And, Canada Goose's colors are all like just this pink and white, massive, stanchion that they have there as he's, interacting with fans and showing them off different jackets and stuff. And I just thought it was so cool, like seeing Shai. I mean, that was like his fashion stuff coming out. And the snowflakes are like dropping down onto his pink bucket hat. I was like, that's an image right there.
That's a cool dude right there. Literally kind of chilly and cold in the moment. But really cool dude. And then you also have Shai in the All-Star game.
Yes.
And this is where I actually got to see Shai a lot, because the thing that stood out to me, he was out there warming up for a long time. Like, guys, he was out there just getting a bunch of shots up for like, I would look down there because we're up really high.
Yeah.
We're not courtside during NBA All-Star.
Not at the All-Star weekend.
We're hanging on the rafters. So I'm looking down and I'm like, oh, there's Shai. All right, cool. There's our guy. He's down there. Yeah. He's getting shots up. I go back. I work on my laptop a little bit. I'm talking to our content team. It's been like 15 minutes. I look back down there and Shai is still getting shots up. And in my head, I'm like,
he's just getting ready for his 30 piece.
That's exactly what it is. And also, like, this dude, like, when he doesn't know what to do, he's just hooping.
Yep.
Go to basketball.
Give me the rock.
Yeah, I'm going to go out there. I always know what to do when I'm out there on the floor. He was out there for a while, just shooting, getting shots up. And probably a good thing he did, because, the pomp and circumstance that leads into an All-Star game takes 30 minutes itself. You got to sing the Canadian national anthem, the regular national anthem. You got to do everyone has to get announced as if they're starters. Right. And so, like, there's a lot of pomp and circumstance that takes a lot of time. And I'm like, yeah, good thing Shai got a really hefty warm up in.
It's something that Steph Curry talked about actually before the game, was like all of that pomp and circumstance actually he said he feels like limits the guy's ability to like really get into a game flow and like get their bodies ready to actually play the way that they would a real game.
Now. Yeah. All that warm up.
And if you're not warmed up, you might feel a little bit tighter and like not willing to maybe do some of the things that you would normally do. So I thought that was interesting that you pointed out that Shai wanted to really make sure that his engines were revved up and he was ready to rock.
I don't know what was going through his head exactly, but I just thought that was awesome. And like very, again, on brand for Shai to just be like, you know what? When in doubt, we're just going to hoop. We're just going to have some fun. And then he went out there and he did his thing. He shot a logo 3. He had a alley-oop dunk to himself, threw a couple of lobs. Like, the man was just doing Shai things.
7 threes. He made 7
threes. That's right. He did. Yeah. He sure did. Yeah.
He will not be taking that many threes in any NBA game coming up anytime soon. So, enjoy that while you got it. Because Shai, when he gets into a Thunder game, he's living at the rim.
He sure is. Yeah. And you never know how he's going to put the ball through the hoop, but it's going to happen. It's going to happen. So that was a recap of a incredibly action-packed, wild, dense, cold, snowy, awesome All-Star weekend. And if you haven't, please do yourself a favor. Go to OKCThunder.com, read Nick's recap article, recapping all of the incredible stuff that happened during All-Star weekend. Also, all the great things that the guys said throughout the weekend. And then also, do yourself a favor. Go to @OKCThunder on all social channels and watch the recap video.
It's incredible.
It's a movie. It really was. Like, the All-Star weekend was a movie. And our guy, Alex Dawson, our videographer, did a fantastic job on that video. So go check it out if you want to just live in this moment of All-Star.
Oh, one more shout out. Our guy, Julian, got the shot from the 300 level of Shai going off the backboard to himself. So make sure you check that out too on our social channels as well.
Shout out, Julian. All right, let's get to some updates from today. Yes, because we've had a busy day today as well. It was the Thunder's first practice back after All-Star weekend. It was really just about getting the guys back in rhythm. Coach Dagnall said it was a lot of catching and shooting and passing.
Just passing the ball to each other and catching it, feeling the basketball again.
Getting back in a rhythm. And he said practice went great. And these guys
It went long
because after practice, he was like, okay, we can cut it short now. Or, we can keep going, whatever you guys want. And the guys were like, we want some more. And he said there was a little bit of a trap because it could have gone for 3 hours. But so he had to pull the plug on the whole practice. But the guys had a great practice. It was also an opportunity for the guys to practice with Gordon Hayward. Bismack Biyombo was also in the building. And so we got a chance to actually talk to Gordon Hayward after practice. And just that was our first time getting a chance to talk to the new guy on the roster. Coach Dagnall said both him and Bismack will be available for the Thunder's upcoming game against the Clippers tomorrow. And this was just a really cool chance to get to know Gordon a little bit more.
To be determined how much, if those guys will actually play in Thursday's game against the LA Clippers or Friday's game against the Washington Wizards. But can give you a couple little different updates here. Bismack going to be wearing number 15. Gordon Hayward going to be wearing number 33. He said, there's some numbers that weren't available for him to pick. And so he decided to go 33. That's how old he is right now. Also, Larry Bird's number. So
classic.
Guy from Indiana, just rocking out for Larry Legend.
Great choice. Great choice.
Especially coming off of Indianapolis All-Star weekend. Perfect.
It made a lot of sense. It made a ton of sense.
But Gordon, very generous with his time today. Just kind of talked through everything that you would want to hear from him about in terms of coming in to the organization. One thing that really stood out to me was he got asked about the on-court conversations that he's had about, what are we going to do on the floor? He said, we pretty much only talked about defense so far.
Exactly.
And I thought that was such great perspective because, when teams get players, especially mid-season, it can be so overwhelming. The external noise of the number of shots and how many minutes and what's he going to do? How is he going to fit in offensively? And half the game, half of it is defense.
You can't just play offense.
And this is a guy who's 6'7" and is extremely experienced in terms of understanding all of the different things that offenses are going to throw his way. He's going to have played against a lot of the guys in the Western Conference that the Thunder is, jockeying for position with here down the stretch of the regular season. And so an understanding of how to defend, how to be a team defender inside of what the Thunder wants to do schematically, absolutely essential.
Yeah, and it goes to show like where his head is at, because he has a really great approach to joining a team midseason. This is the first time, he said, he's been traded midseason. So that has a whirlwind in itself, right? Just figuring out logistics. He's got 4 kids. They're in school. They're young. Like, you can't just pull them out of school at this point. So there's a lot happening that he's, navigating. But when it comes to being a part of this team and integrating with them, he's of the mindset of like, this team has been rolling a long time before I got here. So whatever they need, I am willing to do. Whatever is necessary to win, I'm here to help, whatever I can provide. And basically, Coach Dagnall gave the analogy of like, we're trying to merge him onto a highway. Right. And like, that takes a level of, careful, approach and, just being intentional about it. And Gordon, after talking to him, seems like he has just a really good mindset and approach trying to integrate into this team.
Yeah, and also understands that he hasn't played since just after Christmas. And so that 7 weeks has been an opportunity for him to rest up and heal, to rehab that calf strain, and then really try to get up to full-on basketball speed. Yeah. And having that extra kind of week here since the trade and over the course of All-Star Weekend, really great opportunity for him to get fully up to game speed. And now he's got a couple practices, a shoot-around, and we'll get another shoot-around before the Clippers game. Really great opportunities for him to get a little bit more integrated into the mix. And you just know that those guys are going to be chirping into his ear. The coaching staff are going to be in his ear talking through, okay, like on this is where you got to be. This is where you got to be. And all of that stuff will eventually lock into place because, a lot of the concepts are the same. The terminology might be slightly different.
A little bit. But Gordon has a ton of experience. And with how welcoming we know that this young Thunder team is, we know this is it's going to be great. We're excited to see it out there on the floor. We've talked a lot about Gordon. Let's hear from Gordon Hayward himself. Here's Gordon at practice earlier today.
Gordon, welcome to OKC.
Thank you.
What's it been like for you here so far? And your teammates, before the break, were just talking about getting the chance to connect with you and having a good time getting to know you.
Yeah, it's been a whirlwind of an experience. Never been traded mid-season, so I was joking around saying I felt like a new kid at school, at a different school this morning at practice. But it's been good. Everyone's been really welcoming from the top to the bottom of the organization. So ready to get going here.
Mark has talked about kind of wanting to measure twice and cut once when it comes to integrating you into the team. What have you learned about just kind of style of play and how you might kind of fit into what's already being done here?
Yeah, I mean, we're rolling. They were rolling long before I got here. So I'm not trying to disrupt that. I'm trying to add to it and just help us in any way that I can. Certainly the style of play, ball moves, the players move, you're reading before the catch and making the right plays, and that fits right up my alley of what I want to do. So just focused on trying to do that, trying to help the team.
You had mentioned that this team had been rolling long before you got here. What had just been your perception of what this group has been able to do over the course of this year so far?
Yeah, incredible for how young, most of the guys are. And, I think the poise that they showed, for such young players is unique. Obviously have some guys like Shai and JDub who are able to take over a game by themselves, and that definitely helps. But everybody seems to do their job. I think that was another thing, is that everyone does their job. They play to their strengths, and it's a team first thing. So I think that's what was impressive to me.
Always great to hear from Gordon Hayward. And this is the first time we got to talk to him and really learned a lot about him. Again, as you said, very generous with his time. So we really appreciate that from the new face on the Thunder roster.
Yeah.
All right.
Shall we get to feel what, we're going to talk to him a lot here as the season goes along. And so really nice to be able to get that first checkpoint in.
Definitely. Yeah. All right. Let's look ahead to what's on the Thunder schedule coming up post All-Star break. If you can believe it, only 28 games left of this regular season. And the Thunder, 2 games hitting the ground running as soon as they got back to Oklahoma City. They play against the Clippers on Thursday, and that's the front end of a back-to-back, because then they welcome in the Washington Wizards on Friday. As we know, Thunder Friday nights. Right. That's going to be a fun game you'll be able to watch over the air.
Yeah, don't forget KSBI Channel 52 here locally in Oklahoma City. And so, just make sure that you're on top of all of those Griffin stations, whether you're here in OKC or up in Tulsa, and make sure you got your antennas ready for that.
Oh yeah, you're not going to want to miss it because this Thunder team, they were chomping at the bit to get back to Oklahoma. We talked to Shai after the All-Star game. He was like, yeah, I've been gone long enough. I'm ready to get back to it. So
they just love competing together.
They do.
And this is going to be a really great run here as the rest of February comes to a close. They've got these 2 games, and then they've got a home and home with Houston.
Yeah.
Another team that's, really formidable foe, a team that's kind of been quite a challenge to the Thunder recently. So you have to deal with them, and then you got a trip down to San Antonio as well. So a lot cooking for the Thunder here over the next week and a half, basically, to end the month.
Yeah, you're not going to want to miss it. So tune in to Valley Sports Oklahoma. You can also listen on the radio, WWLS Sports Animal, and the Thunder Radio Network. And until then, thanks so much for watching and tuning in. Be sure to like, rate, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you so much to our producer, Matt Bishop. And until next time, Thunder up, and catch you later.